Shalom. I'd like to say our praise is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles of Great Millstone, of whom I learned this truth. Peace and blessing to the elect out there, of whom I hope to be. This is going to be a short lesson. Going into, I entitled it, We Were Kings, Tribe of Reuben and the Huguenots. Right, and I'm going to bring out a couple of facts. This is like a impromptu, so I didn't really have anything planned, but I have like a one book, Nature No No Color Line, and it's going to go into the Moors that were in Spain, and they were being persecuted. So a lot of them went to France. And they were with the so-called Huguenots, right, under King Henry IV of France, which they were Protestant, and I'm going to bring out a couple of those facts. So, let's play this quick. Let's play this. One moment. So let's play this.
Now, what else? This is a Temuka Indian too. This is one of the most famous. This is called the Moor with the Emerald Cluster. This was made in the late 1600s or 1700s. And it's depicting an Indian chief from Florida in 1562. 63, 64. That's when these Indians were first encountered, northeast Florida. Notice that. Gold teeth. Come on. They was kings, people. We was kings. You know, Rick Ross was right when he said, I think it was him, said, we've always liked classy, stuff like that. That's in our DNA. We can't help it. We can't take that out of us, This could be good evidence for that. That is exactly what a black person would dress up like in ancient America, Flavor Flav.
Yeah, so that's always been our people's spirit, to put on jewelry. That's always been our spirit, man. Going into Solomon. Solomon, all his ornaments were of gold. His utensils, plates, cups. That's always been our spirit, right? And that king from Florida, I believe is, so 1 second. So he's an actual king in Florida, and that was living in the region of Florida where the so-called Seminoles inhabited, right? Because our people were free, right? And that's why there's a whole back and forth, because you had the 13 colonies, which were set up by King James the Fourth of Scotland and Ireland, Scotland and England, and basically set up these colonies, and they were going back and forth. There was war, right? And because not all of us were enslaved. Some of them were people. Some of our people were free men of the land, and basically, our people did get defeated in certain battles, and some of them were brought to the Caribbean as slaves, So, what's the guy's name? Slakia. Forgot the guy's name. One moment. Image. they called him. They called this chief. His name was King or Chief Satur. Chief Saturama. Chief Saturama, right, of Florida, right, and they had jewelry, right, and they had like gold mines, they had all these different resources that they had, and that's why many of the conquistadors, they came and scouted out the land, and basically they tried to defeat them. That's why the Seminoles, they're very strong. They defeated a lot of the conquistadors, and who came over to the Americas. The Seminole, they defeated them. They're very strong, right? Um, Genesis 49:1, and Jacob called unto his sons and said, "Gather yourself together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days." So we're in the last days now. Gather yourself together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my mighty, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and excellency of power. Right. So they were in power. They're known as the five civilized tribes, which was known as um, the region of Florida, known as the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, and the Muskogee, and the Seminoles, right? And they're very strong. They also wore turbans, right? And they knew that they were Israelite. They knew about the laws, statutes, commandments, right? And a lot of them, they were also with the Moors, right? Because a lot of our people, they came to the Americas. But I'm gonna play this video with High Priest Aria. Somebody posted it. A very excellent breakdown about the 12 tribes. So I'm gonna go page 19, where he goes into the tribe of Reuben. So let's go. Very good breakdown. This a very good breakdown. And this breakdown came out in the 1993, right? He's the one that who broke down as to who the tribes were, man. Right? So he's a very important man. This man,
They call the Seminole Indians. That's the tribe of Reuben. The ones they call the Seminole Indians is the tribe of Reuben. Like what's up on the sign up there? The Seminole Indians, the tribe of Reuben. Okay? Read on. Loud. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength. Okay? Read it again. Hold it a minute. Mike, let Mike get over there where you're at. Yeah. So you don't block the speaker, the microphone. Come on over here. Go back in the back row. Okay, repeat that again. Genesis 49, the 49th chapter, the 3rd verse. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity. The excellency of dignity means that he would be a sharp-dressed guy. Now, the Seminole Indians was the only ones I seen over here put on a turban. They had a turban wrapped around their head. And y'all see pictures of the Seminole Indians? I couldn't find my book with the pictures of them on. Turbans wrapped around their head. And they wore jewelry around their neck. Okay, and they wore long robes. And y'all see any of that? Yeah. Okay, go on.
Yeah, so he broke it down, man. Our people were decked out. Wearing turbans. And they were also free men, right? Because the Seminoles, they weren't slaves, and they defeated these invaders, man, and that's why there's many wars. So Seminole Indians. Our people were free men of the land. That's why a lot of them that have the last name Freeman, right? Jake in America. They were never enslaved, right? You could read about the Seminole Indian and free people. The Seminole is derived from a word meaning free people or runaway, right? And they also had Hebrew servants, right? That's in the law when you go in the Torah. Um, I think okay. I think Exodus 20 or Exodus 21. I think it's Exodus 21 or the Hebrew servant. Yeah. Exodus 21 and 1. Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before thee. If thou buy an Hebrew servant 6 years, he shall serve thee, and the seventh he shall go out free, without for he shall go out free for nothing. Right. So we had like a system where if you had like a Hebrew servant, they had to serve like the Hebrew servant would have to serve their master for for 6 years and then go out free, establish themselves, set up their own business, set up their own land, and become rich or wealthy, right? That's why not all of us were enslaved. Some of our people were free people, right? But eventually we end up falling, right? And we end up falling as a people, right? So what was I going to bring up? Yeah. So the Huguenots, right? When you go into the Huguenots. This is on Google, off the AI overview. Huguenots were French Protestants, primarily Calvinists, who faced severe persecution in the Catholic France from the 16th to the 11th, from the 16th to the 18th century, leading many to flee to other countries like England, Germany, America, and South Africa. Right, so our people were scattered. Right, and a lot of our people, they came to the Americas and established themselves, and they also had slaves. Right, the Hebrew servants, and they also, some of them also brought Edomites as servants too, as slaves, right? And that's what's going to happen, right? When the elect, once Yahweh Shai, he sets up his kingdom, right? And the elect is going to be crowned, right? They're going to have the crowning ceremony, right? And they set up New Jerusalem. The earth is gonna be run in righteousness, man. Right? And these other nations are going to have to serve the Israelites. Right? So this is page 143. This was I got inspired from watching the elder of Chicago, Malcolm, and he was going into this book. This is a book that I made some lessons on too. Nature No Colline by J.A. Rogers or Joel A. Rogers, right? Which he was a historian, and he brought out as to who he brought a lot of facts about, the Jake that was in Europe, you know, known as the Moors and stuff. They basically set up society in Europe, right? And they ruled for over 1,000 years. If I could get it. Um, Revelation 20:1, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. So the bottomless pit is known as Europe, right? Because they didn't really have certain like resources and minerals, right? And a great chain in his hand, right? And this is Yahushai that has the keys to open up kingdoms and to break down kingdoms, right? And a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon. The dragon is referred to the Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire. That old serpent, right? Going back to this from the garden, the serpent that enticed Eve, and then um, Eve was enticed by his woman, and then followed the ways of the serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So this is basically after the fall of the Roman Empire, the pagan Roman Empire. They rose to power. Shalom, Yabashim Shabakata. Shalom. Yeah. So they rose to power, right? And for 1,000 years, right? So basically, starting the early 1990s AD. Then guys like Septimius Severus came on the scene after, and then Constantine the Great rose up to power. Right, Constantine the Great, which he was, he set up the whole Roman Catholic Church and set up that whole church system where that is who set up the whole Roman system that basically like they knew, like as to who the saints were. Everybody knew that the saints were black, but they set up the whole Sunday worship and all these idolatry, the Virgin Mary, and all these different doctrine, right? And then there was many wars throughout Europe, right, of different family feuds. There was many family feuds with Jake, for power, right? And that's why we end up falling eventually. Basically, starting from 1453, the fall of Granada. Sorry, the fall of Constantinople, right, which would be in Turkey there. That was where the Byzantine Empire was set up, right? And then basically 1492, where the fall of Granada, the fall of the last Moorish stronghold of Spain, right? And basically our people were driven out. And cast him to the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should see the nation no more till 1,000 years shall be fulfilled. And after that he shall be loose little season. So we're in their little season. We're in Esau little season that he has the power. He has the power, and basically he wants to push global dominance, and they want you to be tagged and identified. And that's the plans of these global elite, to try and have this new world order, this whole, like this is a part of this man's enterprise, and he's not going to, like the Lord is going to put a big monkey wrench in their plans. Shalom, Shalom, brother. Yeah. So this is page 143. 1 second, I have to drink some water. Yeah, page Nature No Colline by Jay Rogers. All right, so this is page 143. The Moors, all the Moors as we sent. Sorry, the Moors as was seen in Vedic France in the 8th century and remained there until the 12th century. Right, so over basically from the 8th century, from 711 AD to the 12th, so over 400 or 500 years, because Spain and Portugal and then France is right there, right? So that was a big Moorish stronghold, right, in the Iberian Peninsula. So the Moors, as was seen, invaded France in the 8th century and remained there until the 12th century, when they were absorbed into the population. All right, and also a lot of our people, they were able, like they speak many different languages, whether it was Spanish, Portuguese, Italian, and French, right? Because in order to be like a navigator and trade, you have to know many different languages, many different tongues. You know, so 5 centuries later, in 1609 A.D., this stock was reinforced by the entire of about a million more who came in on the invitation of Henry IV on their final expulsion from Spain. So our people were being persecuted. They were being persecuted, and from Spain, and a lot of our people, they migrated into France and as well as Portugal, right? But they had to basically convert and become conversos. So they had to convert to that whole Catholicism, and basically they were being persecuted, known as um, the Spanish expulsion, where the Moors were being persecuted in Spain, man, severely, you know. So says this is the second last paragraph. For most of the female slaves were white, says Lavis, right? So they had they had slaves too, right? Men slave and women slave, right? And they had their a whole bunch of concubines. That's why a lot of our people, like a lot of us, some of us are have darks, are very dark. Some of us are light, right? Chocolate, cinnamon, or different, like complexions, because we absorbed into we absorbed because we had a lot of different women, right? So a lot of us came out more lighter, right? It says they were brought chiefly from the region of the Black Sea in southern Russia, so as well as Russia too, right? Like Russia was also a major stronghold of Jake during the medieval time, right? And it was a time where Jake was flourishing, right? And they had a whole bunch of harems and stuff, right? Um, yeah, so the Huguenots, the French Protestants, who followed the Reformation tradition of Protestantism, practiced Calvinism. They were persecuted in France, leading to a leave of emigration to other countries, to like England, Netherlands, or some people went to Germany, right? And Germany was also a very a stronghold of Jake during the medieval time, right? That's why a lot of our people are still there. You have brothers in Germany, right? Also in the Netherlands, right? know that was our stronghold all throughout Europe and the Americas, right? So that's pretty much it. I didn't really want to go too long. All right. The spirit permits, I will make more lessons going into the history of Jake in Europe. Or you could watch some of our videos. You could watch History of Yaakov. He has a lot of good videos. Elder Malcolm of GMS Chicago, You could watch some of my old videos going into the Moors as well as different elders, right? Big Gad of Connecticut, he has a lot of edifying videos too, right? Going into Jake throughout Europe, and they could expound more than I can, going into certain things. So with that, let us praise the due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Kakwadash, double honor to Apostle of Great Millstone, peace and blessings to the elect. Shalom to brothers on the comment board, and Shalom. Yah Ba'ashem, Shalom.